talking about something that I think most entrepreneurs get wrong. We're talking about something that I totally got wrong, and I know a lot of them are getting wrong, and it costs you more than almost any other decision that you can make in your business. Most entrepreneurs make is a bad hire, because most hiring decisions are not strategic, they're emotional. You hire when you're drowning, or you don't hire because you don't think you can afford it. You hire when you're burnt out. You hire when you cannot take one more thing on your plate and you just need anybody to take something off of it. Hiring from desperation is the most expensive decision you can ever make twice. And 6 months later, you're right back where you started, except now you have payroll.
If this episode changed the way you think about hiring, leadership, and building your business the smart way, comment podcast below or click the attached video to watch the full episode.
Hey, welcome back to The Digital Shift. I am Jessica Green, CEO and founder of the Self-Made Hub, business strategist, mentor, and your favorite unapologetic systems and strategy nerd. And if you're brand new here, genuinely, I welcome you. You have picked a good one, because today we're not just talking about something that I think most entrepreneurs get wrong. We're talking about something that I totally got wrong, and I know a lot of them are getting wrong, and it costs you more than almost any other decision that you can make in your business. Not a bad ad, not a missed launch, not a funnel that didn't convert. The most expensive mistake most entrepreneurs make is a bad hire. And the reason most hires go wrong has nothing to do with the person and everything to do with the moment the decision was made. Because most hiring decisions are not strategic, they're emotional. You hire when you're drowning, or you don't hire because you don't think you can afford it. You hire when you're burnt out. You hire when you cannot take one more thing on your plate and you just need anybody to take something off of it. And I get it. I have been there. But here's the truth about hiring from that place. Hiring from desperation is the most expensive decision you can ever make twice. Because when you hire to fix a feeling of overwhelm or burnout or chaos, you almost never hire the right person for the right role at the right time. And 6 months later, you're right back where you started, except now you have payroll. So today, I want to talk to you about a different way. I want to talk to you about the way I made the most recent hiring decisions. And they were not from my gut, not from a place of panic, but from data. And I want to tell you how I used AI to make the process so much more enjoyable and so much easier. If you hate hiring and firing, you are not alone. I don't like it either, but using AI definitely sped the process up and it really did make it fun. It gamified it on our back end, quite honestly. And I'm going to tell you really how I did that. So by the end of this episode, you're going to have a completely different relationship with how you think about building your team. So first, let's talk about the real cost of hiring wrong. Before we talk about how to hire right, I want to spend a few minutes on what hiring wrong can actually cost you, because I think most entrepreneurs dramatically underestimate this number. And actually, according to the Society for Human Resource Management, the average cost of a bad hire is anywhere from 50% to 200% of that employee's annual salary. When you factor in recruiting, training, loss of productivity, and the cost of replacing them for a $50,000 role, that's potentially $100,000 gone. But here's what those numbers don't capture: the time cost. Every hour that you spend onboarding the wrong person, managing the wrong person, fixing the work of the wrong person, that's an hour you're not spending on the things you can actually do, which is strategy, relationships, growth. And then there's the momentum cost. When you make a bad hire, it does not just affect you, it affects your whole team. The morale, the energy, the standard. One wrong person in the wrong seat has a way of spreading doubt throughout the entire operation, and for your clients too. Introduce them to someone new, then take them away. Yikes. And then there's the trust cost. And this one is the hardest to recover from, because if a bad hire, you stop trusting your own judgment. You second guess every future decision. You hold back, you wait too long, and that hesitation costs you. So think about what happens when a restaurant hires the wrong head chef. It's not just about the food that suffers. The whole kitchen dynamic shifts. The staff is harder to manage. The customers feel something's off, even if they can't name it. The owner is suddenly back in the kitchen trying to hold things together. One wrong hire in the wrong seat affects every table in the restaurant, right? So now here's the pattern I want you to see, because once you see it, you can't unsee it. Most entrepreneurs hire to fix a feeling. They feel overwhelmed, so they hire a VA. They feel behind in content, so they hire a social media manager. They feel like they can't keep up with leads, so they hire a salesperson. I am saying all these things because I've done every single one of them, you guys. It is not because I'm telling you what to do because I didn't do it myself. I already did this. But the feeling is not the problem. The feeling is just the symptom. The problem is a broken or missing system underneath it. And when you hire before you fix the system, you do not solve the problem. You add the person to the problem. And now the problem has a salary and you're paying the problem. You cannot hire your way out of a broken system. You have to build the system first. Then you can hire to scale it. This is the shift I want you to make today. So from hiring reactively to hiring strategically, and from hiring to fix a feeling to hiring to fill a data confirmed in your business gap. Now, I want to tell you how AI gave me clarity before I hired. And then we're going to dig deep on how AI, towards the end here, we're going to dig deep on how AI actually helped me with the process too. So let me take you on a behind the scenes, because a few months ago, I was at a point in my business where I knew the team needed to grow. I could feel it. Listen, the pressure was on, but feeling it and knowing exactly what to do about it are two very different things. And in the past, that feeling alone would have been enough for me to start posting a job description, and not time, sister. This time, before I made a decision to hire, I ran 3 AI power moves that changed everything. 1, an operations audit. First thing I did was use AI to audit what was actually happening in the business, where we were all spending our time. We all did a time audit and ran that through AI. And so it wasn't based on what I thought was happening or what jobs were like overwhelmed, not what I felt like was happening, but what was actually measurably happening, and where the time was actually being lost, and where the revenue could be leaking, and where was the team stretched way past their capacity, and which one of those stretches were actually costing us money. And what came back was not necessarily what I expected. The areas I thought were a problem, some of it wasn't. And the areas I had completely overlooked were actually costing us some of the most, right? So there was a specific function in our operations, client onboarding follow through, that was taking our team, significantly more hours per week than it should have. Not because we weren't capable, just because the system wasn't built to support. And the gap was kind of invisible to me before the audit. It was completely visible in the data though. So it's like getting a full panel blood test instead of just describing your symptoms to a doctor and guessing what's wrong. You might feel tired and assume you need more sleep, but the blood work shows your iron is low and your thyroid is off. The treatment for how you feel and the treatment for what's actually happening are completely different. This audit is your blood work. It tells you exactly what is there and what's not, and what you actually need, right? So move 2 would be the role clarity framework. So once I could see the actual gaps, the second move was using AI to define the role and what we would actually need to accomplish it. So not a job title, not a generic job description pulled from Indeed, but a set of outcomes, specific, measurable, tied directly to the gaps that are identified in the audit. And what does done look like? What does success in 90 days look like for this person? What specific functions would move from the current team's plate to this person's plate? And how would that free up? When you define the role by outcome instead of title, everything changes. The job description will write itself. The interview questions become obvious. The onboarding plan is already half built. So like AI, LinkedIn, workplace learning, a report found that companies who define roles by outcomes and skills rather than just titles and experience fill positions 30% faster and report significantly higher retention at that 12-month mark. Outcome-based role clarity is not just better for hiring, it's better for keeping people once you have them. So move 3 would be the readiness check. The third move was the one that it really used to feel like the most uncomfortable, but now it feels like the most essential for us. So before committing to a hire, I ran a readiness check, 3 data questions. 1, revenue, are we ready? Or actually, I got to step back here for a second because I want to make sure that I teach this the way that I've learned it more recently, which changed the game on hiring for capacity for us. So this is going to say revenue readiness. Can the business sustain this hire right now? Not just over the next month, but over the next 6 months. What does the revenue data actually say? And I do think that that's important, and you absolutely should do that. But this is like step 1A, and then there's 1B. 1B is we're not always going to be able to hire based on can we afford them for 6 months. Sometimes you have to hire and take a leap of faith. And before you hire, you attach that hire to the money that they can bring back into the business within 90 days. That way, when you make a hire, you're maybe only needing to budget that we got to come out of pocket for 3 months, and we can afford that. And by 90 days, they really need to be paying for themselves by doing X, Y, and Z in the business to recoup or gain some revenue based on their role. I'm not calling them a salesperson. I'm saying go in, and this is why AI is so crucial. Go in and figure out what the things are in your business that are either already costing you that you could eliminate, or ways that you could bring in some additional revenue if you just had this person on board doing X, Y, and Z over here. Not selling, but doing these things could create more revenue. And you tie that role to revenue goals. And so some of their KPIs, when you bring them on, key performance indicators, are going to be things that can bring money back to the business. Okay. And that's how you afford the role. That I wish I would have learned 3 years ago. Okay. Big deal for me. And number 2, before committing to a hire, this is part of your readiness checklist, capacity return. What would immediately free up if this role were filled? Is that freed up capacity going to generate more revenue than the hire actually costs? So it's the capacity return, what I really was just kind of covering. And then number 3 is system readiness. Is there infrastructure for this person to step into, or would they be building it from scratch on day one? It's okay if you've never had that role before and you together have to build in some infrastructure to that, because some people will say if you don't have the infrastructure ready yet, you're not ready to hire. I don't really believe that 100% true. You at least need to have the framework that you want as the business owner or founders, and then have that person as part of their first 90-day run help build out the playbook for their role. You can't always have everything perfect before you're ready to take that leap of faith. The third question alone has saved me from at least 2 hires that would have been premature. Not bad hires, just premature ones, which can be expensive. Okay. AI did not tell me who to hire. It told me what I actually needed first, which is a completely different conversation. And now I want to tell you about a couple hires that we just made, because I'm not all about just getting on a podcast and having my soapbox go and telling you how to do things. I want to relate it back to like, what did we just do in our business? So let me tell you what actually happened. I want to be really honest with you here, because the whole point of this episode is that hiring with data beats hiring with feelings. And I did not perfectly follow my own advice. Okay. The data told me 2 things clearly. And you know what? P.S. I talk about mentorship all the time. This is not an area of my expertise. We hired a mentor. We paid 5 figures to this mentor over the last few months to help us figure out how to hire and how to operate for scale. We invested before we were ready to do something with the business that was going to move the needle forward for us. So I always want to put those caveats inside of my training in my podcast, because I believe that mentorship is the fastest way for you to scale your business, depending on what skill sets your business needs right now. Okay. So the first gap was operations and system management, hence why we invested in an operations mentor. The day-to-day maintenance and building of infrastructure that keeps Self-Made Hub running. Our team was stretched across too many functions that required completely different skill sets. The data showed exactly where the time was going and which of those functions needed a dedicated owner. The gap that we had pointed directly to needing a director of operations, someone who could own the systems, the processes, the back-end architecture, and the business. That was the role the data said should come first. And so did our mentor, by the way, tell us that was the role that needed to come first. But I was still stuck in my stubborn Capricorn old ways. And we didn't do it that way. I'm going to tell you about that in a second. So the second gap was in client experience and support, making sure that every person inside of our programs was being served at the standard we have built our reputation on. As the business has grown, the function had become too big for one person to carry without dropping things. And we were dropping things. And that would result in bad service to our clients and our students, right? So both of these were data confirmed gaps, not feelings, not assumptions, not numbers. Okay. But here's what happened in practice. I did not hire the DOO first, the director of operations, which I should have. I hired a director of student success first, which meant that I now needed to operate, train, and Natasha, a director of student success. And we had to set up their KPIs, and we had to set up all their training, and we have to coach them. If I would have hired the director of operations first, they would have massively helped for that hiring process, making sure we were hiring the right person, making sure we had all the data, all the KPIs, everything in place for them so that I wasn't having to do that. Guess where I'm at right now? I'm doing all of it because I didn't hire the director of operations first. Bad call on my part. Not catastrophic, but bad call. Then I knew we needed a sales coordinator because I'm like, well, in order to afford a director of operations and the student success director that we just hired, I've got to have more sales. I'm the one doing all of our sales. I need someone to help me. Let's go hire a sales coordinator. So we did. Hey, quick pause before we continue, because if you're listening to this podcast and thinking, I love this strategy, but the tech still feels overwhelming, you're not alone. That's why Tech Savvy School exists. Tech Savvy School is where entrepreneurs learn how to actually build the systems behind a scalable business. Funnels, automations, workflows, and tools explained in plain language, step by step. No guessing, no duct taping platforms together anymore, just clarity and confidence with the tech that supports your growth. This podcast helps you think differently about your business. Tech Savvy School helps you implement what you're learning. If you're ready to stop feeling stuck on the tech side of things in your business, visit techsavvyschool.com and explore the trainings. All right, let's get back to the episode. And if I'm being completely transparent with you, which is the only way I know how to do this, I made those hires from feelings, right? I totally made them from feelings, from urgency, from overwhelm, and from that voice in the back of my head saying we couldn't afford a director of operations, so you better go get a salesperson first. I needed help now in these categories. And the question I could not answer at that time was, how do I pay for the director of operations without first increasing sales capacity? So I went to the hires that felt like they would relieve the most immediate pressure. See what I said there? I felt like immediate pressure. Those are hiring on feelings. And listen, they were not bad hires. Both of those people are incredible. Both of those roles needed to exist in our company. But what I did was create more work for myself by not hiring the director of operations first and having operationally these roles ready for these people to step into. So the order was wrong. Okay. And here's what I want you to understand about why that matters. The director of operations is the person who builds and holds the infrastructure that everything else runs on. And I've been operating as a CEO and a COO for way too long. Without that person in place first, every other role, student success, sales, marketing, delivery, is operating on systems that are not fully built yet. They're not documented yet. They're not fully optimized yet. And I'm the one having to hold it all together. Right? They're doing their best inside the machine that's still being held together by the CEO and by Natasha, our CSXO. We finally got her title right. We've moved her from COO. Nope, she wasn't. Operations wasn't her. We moved her to CMO. Nope, marketing officer, not her. We now have her in charge of our absolute customer experience journey, and operations, and that is who she is. Okay, so we really have been, her and I have been trying to play operations manager and marketing director and CEO and client. We were just trying to do too much, which is the exact problem that maybe some of you guys are trying to solve. So the director of operations should have come first. That is the role that holds everything else together. And the fact that I did not hire that person first is proof that even with data, urgency can still win if you let it. So now the good news. We are actively interviewing for that DOO role right now. And by the time you listen to this episode, I hope to have had that person hired. And I actually believe we may have found that perfect fit for us. Fire fast. We took a long time and a lot of data to find our perfect candidate. And I pray that she feels the same exact way. Because once that person is in place, they can do the rest. They can own the systems. They can build the infrastructure. They can be the person who makes sure every other role on the team has what they need to perform at their best. And that's why this hire should have come first. And that's the lesson I want you to take from this. And according to a recent study, the average cost of a bad hire is estimated at 50 to 200% of the employee's annual salary, right? Remember me saying that? Even if the salary is $50,000, it probably will cost you $100,000. Think about it like building a house. You'd never install a kitchen cabinet before the foundation is poured. Even if the cabinets are beautiful, and you are going to get a good deal on them and you're desperate to start cooking, the foundation is not the exciting part, but it's the part that holds everything else up. Your director of operations or operations manager is the foundation, and every other role you hire performs better when that foundation is solid first. An emotional hire is like, I feel like I need help, leads to like a vague role, unclear expectations, a person who does not know what winning looks like, and a short tenure. In a data informed hire, in the right order, the data says the function is costing me X, the hours a week, and Y dollars a month. And the infrastructure role needs to come first. It leads to the clear scope of everything else, real KPIs, a fast ramp map, a team that compounds. So hiring the right person for the wrong seat at the wrong time is not a data problem. It's a discipline problem. And I am telling you from experience about mine so that you do not repeat it, right? Okay. This last part is all about AI. AI did not just help me decide who to hire, it helped me hire them. And I want to share this with you because this was a game changer for me. It made the process actually fun because I don't like to hire, and I don't think anybody likes to fire unless you're sadistic, but whatever. Now, here's the part of the conversation I think most people are sleeping on. Everyone talks about AI for marketing, AI for content, AI for social media, and almost nobody's talking about AI for operations or hiring. And I'm not talking about some future state enterprise level multi-million-dollar HR platform. I'm talking about what a real CEO running a real business with a lean team, actually used AI to do across our last 3 hires. And I want to walk you through the steps. So step 1 was the job description. Before I ever posted a role, I used AI to build the job description, not a generic template I pulled from Indeed. I fed AI the context of my business, our revenue model, our tech stack, our team structure, our growth goals, and I asked it to generate a job description that was specific to what this role actually needed to do inside of Self-Made Hub. The result was a job description that read like a CEO wrote it, but because one did, with AI as a drafting partner, and it included clear outcomes, specific KPIs, the tools they'd be using, the team they'd be working with, the standard they'd be held to. And, you must be like a detail-oriented self-starter, but real expectations, real accountability from day one. And now they know exactly what their job is going to be when they step into it. Step 2 was the role documents and KPIs. Once the job description was done and I could get that up and running, I used AI to build what I call the role operating agreement. That's not the job description you post online. It's the internal document that defines what winning looks like once they're in and for the rest of the team that it needs to include. So it includes the 30-day, the 60-day, the 90-day milestones, the weekly deliverables, the KPIs that this role measures against, the decision rights, what this person owns, what requires approval. Most entrepreneurs do not build this until after the person's already struggling in the role. We had it done before the application window even opened. So according to LinkedIn, companies that define clear role expectations and success metrics before hiring see 2.5 times higher new hire satisfaction and significantly lower early turnover. The documentation is not busy work. It's the difference between a hire that works and a hire that wanders. Okay, number 3, sorting and scoring, 100 plus resumes. Yes, our director of operations role got 100 plus resumes. Our sales coordinator roles probably almost very close to that. So let me tell you about the DOO search specifically, because this is where it got real. We received those 100 resumes, 100. Okay. And if you've ever sat down and tried to read through 100 resumes, really read them, you're not going to skim. You know that after about 15, your brain starts blurring. You start making decisions based on formatting instead of substance. You start looking for shortcuts instead of signals. So instead of doing that, I built a scoring system with AI. I gave AI the role document, the one with KPIs, the milestones, the skill requirements, the culture markers, and said, score every resume against these criteria, not against a generic rubric, but like this criteria, because it's mine and it's what we need. So against our specific role, our specific business, and our standard. AI scored and ranked all 100 plus resumes, gave me a short list of top candidates with specific notes on each, why they scored the way they did, what could have taken me an entire week, really, honestly, probably longer, was done in a fraction of the time and done more consistently than I could have ever done it manually, because AI does not get tired at resume number 47 and start skipping sections. So think about a college administration office. They do not have one person read every single application cover to cover and make a gut call. They have a structured scoring rubric that every application is measured against first, and then humans review the top tier with their full attention. So that's exactly what we did. AI was the admissions filter. I was the dean making the final call. Then step 4 was the interview evaluation. Here's where it gets even more interesting. We recorded every interview with Fathom. And after each interview, I used AI to evaluate the conversation against the role criteria. Not did I like this person, not did they seem confident, but did their answers demonstrate the specific competencies this role would require? Did they give evidence of the outcome we defined? Did their experience map to the KPIs we set? AI generated a structured evaluation for every single interview, scored against the same criteria we used to filter the resumes. So by the time I sat down to make a decision, I was not relying on memory. I was not relying on who made me laugh or who had the best energy in the first 5 minutes. I was looking at consistent criteria-based evaluation across every candidate. And that removed so much of the bias and noise that usually creeps into hiring decisions. So there was some research done by Harvard Business Review that found that structured interviews are up to twice as effective as predicating job performance compared to like unstructured ones. And I'm a very unstructured interviewer because I don't like doing them. This made my job so much easier. Every time I sat down for an interview, I had everything laid out, the questions I should ask based on their experience, based on what we needed for the job. I didn't forget anything. The conversation didn't get driven just based on emotion or anything like that. So adding AI powered evaluation on top of structured interviews creates consistency, and even the most disciplined hiring managers struggle to maintain across all the candidates, right? Because it's such an emotional thing. All right, step number 5, compensation negotiation. This one surprised me even. When it came time to negotiate compensation, I used AI to research market rates for the specific role in our specific industry at our specific company stage, but also their experience level, because there's ranges, right? And just because a role, if you look at it on paper, says it's supposed to make $100,000 a year, their experience level may either surpass that or come in under that, right? And so you don't want to necessarily hire just based on the industry standard. I've done that before and I kick myself in the hiney for it. So we don't need to look at Glassdoor averages, not generic salary ranges. It's contextual compensation analysis based on the scope of the exact role for my specific company with the experience of the candidate, the cost of living, and competitive offers in the space and what they look like. You can't do that on your own without AI. I walked into every compensation conversation informed with data, with ranges, with a clear rationale for the number I was offering. And that's confidence. That's grounded. That's data-backed confidence. And it changes the entire dynamic of the negotiation because you're not guessing. You're not hoping the number feels right. You know what this role is worth. You know what you can afford, and you can explain exactly why that offer makes sense. Step number 6, scratching the surface on AI-powered onboarding. And we're really going to put the DOO that we're bringing on board in charge of this. So I don't have a ton of experience in this yet, but we did do some. Okay, so we've started using AI in the onboarding process itself. Automated welcome sequences that kick off the moment someone signs their offer letter, role-specific training paths built into the Self-Made Hub, AI-generated SOPs, and reference documents so that the new hire is not reinventing the wheel on day one. We're just scratching the surface on this, and even with what we have built so far, it's been a game changer. There's been a research from Glassdoor recently that found companies with a strong onboarding process improve new hire retention by 82% and productivity by over 70%. The onboarding experience is not an HR admin. It's the foundation of performance for each individualized role. One other thing we're doing inside of our company is deploying AI for each role. Every employee in our company is going to have an AI assistant that we build for them and they can fully use and function with to increase capacity in their own role, make them better at what they do, and create a blueprint of that role so that we have that and it keeps the company safe and unharmed. If someone needs to leave, take time off, have FMLA, and we can still operate, and there's an assistant to their role. The onboarding system is still being refined, still being tested, and still being improved. And That's actually the point, because AI is not a set it and forget it situation. It's not a crock pot, okay? It's a build it, learn from it, and make it better situation. And the businesses that treat it that way, as an evolving system, not a one-time project, are the ones that will see the biggest returns over time. So another analogy, think about the difference between checking into a luxury hotel versus staying at a house where the host forgot you were coming. At a luxury hotel, your room is ready, your preferences are noted, your key is waiting, and there's a note explaining everything you need. At the unprepared house, you are standing at the door while someone's frantically making up a bed. Both are technically hosting you, but only one makes you feel like you made the right decision. Your onboarding system is the difference between those two experiences, period. AI did not just help me decide who to hire. It helped me write the job description, define the KPIs, score the 100 resumes, evaluate the interviews, negotiate the compensation, and start building onboarding. That's not a tool. That's a hiring department. And I just want to say this, AI is never going to replace hiring. So take a breath. Everything I've shared today is real. It works. And I believe deeply in using data and AI to take the emotion out of hiring decisions. It will help you. I know it's helping me because I make too many emotional decisions when it comes to that. But I also want to be clear about what AI will never replace in this process. Culture assessment, whether this person fits who you are and who you're becoming as a team, that is a human read only. No dashboard can ever capture that. Vision alignment. Do they understand where you're going? Do they want to go there? Are their eyes lighting up or glazing over when you describe it? That's a conversation that is you in the room with them, or on a virtual Zoom room, right? And then the relational read, the call, the interview, the gut check, the moment where you just know. AI can tell you someone has the right skills for the right role at the right time. It cannot tell you if they will thrive inside your specific culture. And then leadership and accountability. Once they're in, they need a leader. AI tracks metrics. Humans build people. The data will tell you if someone is hitting their outcomes, but it's your job to develop them, stretch them, and hold them to the standard. So AI can give you the clarity to make a great hire and speed up the process and make it fun, but you still have to lead them once they're in. And then I want to leave you with 3 moves before your next hire. Okay. Let's make this real and actionable before I let you go, because I do not want you to walk away from this episode fired up with nowhere to put the energy. So here are 3 concrete moves to make for your next hire. Okay. Move 1, run an operations audit. I talked about that at the very beginning of this episode. Before you ever post a job, run an AI audit. Number 2, define the role by outcome, not title. Figure out what seats on the bus. My friend Tony Ferraro tried to teach me this too long ago, and I probably failed at listening a few times. Figure out what seats on the bus are needed for the bus. Figure out what seats are needed for the company to run before you figure out roles or titles or salaries or the people. Figure out the seats first. What does success look like for this role? Then you can go and hire the person. All right. I think, let's see, move number 3. I think I had one more for you guys. Build the onboarding system before the hire starts if you can, right? It's not always going to be possible, but if you can and you have a director of operations, have them build that. And so that you kind of like have some of this stuff ready for them to rock and roll when they hit the front door. So let me leave you with this. You deserve a team that multiplies your impact for your business, not one that multiplies your stress. You deserve to walk into a hiring decision with confidence, not desperation. And you deserve to wake up on a new team member's first day knowing that the system is ready and that their onboarding is running and the training is waiting and the standard is already built in. Because that's what it looks like to build a team like a CEO, not reactive, not panicked, not hoping you chose right, but intentional, data informed, and engineered. So if you're sitting there thinking, I need to build this inside my business, but I don't even know where to start, that's exactly what we do inside of Self-Made Hub. We teach you how to build the systems, the tech, the AI, the automation, so that you can do great things inside of your company, so that you can scale them, right? So that you can make great hires work. The operations infrastructure, the onboarding automation, the data dashboards, the AI integrations, that gives you the clarity before you ever make people decisions. You can head over to our website, self-made.biz, and the link in all of our show notes will be there for everything. If you're like, hey, I'd like to try to build some of this inside of our business, I'd like to book a call with your team to see how I can help build some AI and automations into my hiring process, the survey application from like, how can I do that with all the tech? You can book a call with our team and that link will be in the show notes as well. And I hope this was super beneficial to the right person listening to this that needs to know that you can hire in your company for more capacity before you think you can afford it. And it is actually what's going to help you scale if you do it the right way and in the right order. I will see you on the next episode. If you're getting value from these conversations, don't let this be the only episode that you listen to. Every episode of this podcast is designed to help you build a smarter business, one with real systems behind the scenes, not just ideas, motivation, or hustle. We break down what's actually working right now when it comes to automation, content, follow-up, and scaling without the burnout. If you want to see how all of this comes together in real life, I highly recommend watching the Self-Made Hub demo. Inside the Self-Made Hub, you'll see how entrepreneurs turn content into leads and leads into conversations and conversations into consistent sales using simple automated systems that don't feel overwhelming or cold. You can watch the demo anytime at self-made.biz/demo. Then queue up another episode because the shift doesn't happen from one conversation. It happens when you start connecting all the dots. And I'll see you in the next episode.